I've been in content 10 years and I've generated over 10 million followers for the fastest growing personal brand in the business space. And I'm going to share with you the 16 brutal truths that I learned the hard way so you don't have to make the same mistakes. Brutal truth number one, the algorithm isn't suppressing you, the audience just doesn't care. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the algorithm thinks. The consumer on the other side is the audience. And I like to reframe my thinking from, oh, the algorithm's not picking up my video to, oh, the audience isn't resonating with my message. Which brings us to brutal truth number two, you can't out-edit a shitty topic. At the end of the day, you can't polish a turd. And if you pick a shitty topic that no one cares about, you're not going to be able to grow as fast as the next guy on social media that prioritizes the best topics. That's why I like to use tools like 1 of 10 or topicfinder.ai, whether you're doing short form or long form, to actually find topics that are resonating with people in your niche. Because you could have the best lighting, you could have the best gear, you could have the best editing, but if no one cares about what you talk about, you will not get views on social media. So make sure before you turn on a camera, go on social media and go see what people are talking about, because it's way easier to enter an existing conversation than to create a completely new one. Which brings us to brutal truth number three, no one knows who you are, so make your content for strangers. When people scroll on social media, most of the people that they see are strangers, people that they don't know. And if you want your content to perform better than, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 views on a single short, or 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 views on a single long form video, you're gonna have to make your content for the person that doesn't know you. And the best way that I've heard this explained is from Patty Galloway, Mr. Beast YouTube strategist, and he explains it as making all your videos appealing to the CCN, right? Your core, casual, and new audience. And so how to tactically do this in all your videos is to reintroduce yourself. As you've noticed at the start of this video, whether you've been watching my stuff for a long time or you've just landed on this video and you've never seen my face before, I reintroduce myself and I explain what I've done and the reasons why you should listen to me. If you want your content to perform better on social media, you have to constantly reintroduce yourself to your audience and make your content for strangers. Which brings us to brutal truth number four, your content isn't a funnel, it's actually a web. If you think about user behavior on social media, they don't watch a long form video, then click on a short form video, then click on a tweet, then click on a LinkedIn post, and then fall down your funnel. At the end of the day, social media is a web. And I could watch one video on YouTube, I could watch a video on Instagram, then go back to YouTube, then go back to Instagram, then go on LinkedIn, then go on X, and maybe never even hear about your Substack. And that's totally fine. But the way you want to think about your content is not as a funnel, it's a web. And a web ideally should be pointing to each and every platform. And so if you make a video on short form, you should be pointing people back to long form. If you make a video on long form, you should be pointing people back to short form. So you're creating this viral web of content and connecting all your social medias to each other. And then they get value and convert to a follower or a buyer later on. Which brings us to brutal truth number five, your follower number doesn't matter anymore. The person that has 1 million followers and the person that has 10,000 followers are competing for the same attention. And now that social media has turned more into interest media, where before you would see your friends, your family on social media, and now you actually see your interests, what you're interested in, and what the algorithm thinks you want to see, and creators that are outside of who you follow, the playing field has completely leveled. And so it doesn't matter if you have 1 million, 500,000, or 250,000 followers, you are competing for the same attention as the guy that just started on Instagram. What that means is that small creators are growing faster than ever before, and big creators have more competition than ever before. So I truly think that personal brands, as they were in 2016, are completely dead. So make sure if you have a big audience to be sharing stuff that is tactical, that your audience obviously sees value in. And then if you have a small audience, just know that you're competing for the same attention as those bigger creators. So double down on it. Which brings us to brutal truth number six, your first 100 videos are just practice. If you want a clear example of this, go watch my first 100 videos on my Instagram. I think I completely sucked at delivering content, and that is totally fine because those first videos were practice. And what you want to do is get them out of the way as soon as possible. And the best example that I like to point at as well is Dan Martell, who I work for, and we've grown his personal brand from under 100K followers to over 11 million across all platforms. He started posting on YouTube back in 2014 or 2015. And if you go watch those old videos, you'll see that his delivery style is completely different than it is today because he's built the reps and he's built the skill of delivering on camera. And if you want to perform better on camera, you have to get your first 100 videos, your first 200 videos, your first 300 videos out the door as soon as possible. And that's the only way to get better on camera. It's not to sit there and read more books about how to deliver a better video. It's literally to get in front of the camera as much as possible and just talk to it. So get those first videos done. Which brings us to brutal truth number seven. Nobody shares your content because they want to help you. They share your content because they want to signal. And what signaling looks like is I am like this. And I've noticed this if I post a video about, maybe being more consistent or how consistency is important on social media, then I'll see a bunch of people repost that video, share that video with friends that want to signal that they think that is also important. And if you understand that principle, you will understand that you have to talk about things that people care about, things that people want to associate with, things that people want to signal as. It doesn't matter matter who you're creating content for, think about your content as a sounding board for your audience, right? You want them to resonate with what you're saying and then signal to their audience that they're also like that. An example of that for me is I posted a video that was like, social media will expose your friendships. And I explained the difference between a looker and a supporter, somebody who looks at your content, somebody who supports your content. And the lookers are, extremely toxic, and you have to get them out of your social media as soon as possible. A ton of people shared that video because they want to signal that that is important to them, that they are a supporter, that they want to support people. On the flip side, that they don't appreciate lookers. And so if you want your content to perform better on social media, understand that nobody shares your content to help you. They share your content to signal who they are. Which brings us to brutal truth number 8. Your market is not saturated. Your message is just too generic. If you want your content to perform better on social media, stop repeating what other people are saying. I've seen tons of creators blow up because they talk about non-obvious net new concepts. They talk about things in ways that aren't obvious to the everyday person, and their advice is not generic. It's actually additive to the market. And if you just repeat what every other person in your niche is saying, you're never going to grow faster because people have already heard that. And the only reason I've been able to grow my personal brand from 0 to 50,000 followers, especially on Instagram, is because I talk about things in new ways. I talk about non-obvious concepts, and that is how you will stand out in a sea of other people. And by the way, if you want my internal custom GPT that I use to literally put my niche in and it spits out 25 validated topics that are non-obvious, just go on my Instagram and message me the word topic and I'll send it over to you. Which brings us to brutal truth number 9. You don't have a content problem, you have a packaging problem. When I talk to new creators especially, they think that they need to make better content. They need better edits, they need fancy cameras. How I like to think about it, it's the hierarchy of importance, right? At the end of the day, topic is the most important thing. Yes, you want to pick ideas that people resonate with, but then it's how do you package those ideas in a way that is appealing to most people by using angles and formats that people resonate with. If I made a YouTube video, here's how to grow a business, and then my thumbnail would be how to grow a business, that video is not going to perform because it doesn't have a unique angle or format associated to that packaging. A better way to look at that, let's say my topic is here's how to grow a business, I would package that with the angle of here's how to grow a business so fast it feels like cheating, it feels illegal, to put a little spin on it. And then on the thumbnail, instead of here's how to grow a business and just repeating my title, I would complement the title by adding something like faster than the 99%, unlock extreme growth. And what that will do is make my video stand out in a sea of other videos that are generic because I've nailed the packaging and I can use the same content but just packaged in a better way. Which brings us to brutal truth number 10. Your content should feel like a conversation, not a presentation, because people don't consume social media with 999 people behind them, right? They consume social media alone, and you have to understand that because when you talk to your camera like there are 1,000 people, it could feel out of touch. It could feel like you're not actually connecting with the viewer. And a lot of times what that looks like is just lowering your tone or using you statements instead of you guys statements, right? Super simple tactical strategies to actually treat your camera like one person and not 1,000 people. Which brings us to brutal truth number 11. If everyone agrees with you, you're actually not saying anything. A lot of people think they have contrarian takes and then have all positive comments on their social media. It's not a contrarian take if you don't actually stand against something. And if you want your videos to perform better on social media, you're going to have to align around a message or an idea that some people might not like. An example of this is to have a common enemy, right? I've done this 1,000 times on Dan Martell's content or in my content, but it's when I rally around an idea that I think most people would resonate with, but some people would not. Because if not, your message is just going to sound generic. We're mostly tribal humans and we want to align around common enemies and we want to attack common behaviors. And so you want to take advantage of that in your social media. Make sure that you have people in your comments that don't agree with what you're saying. Ideally, I'd like the ratio to be 95% positive, 5% negative. And if you have 50-50, negative, positive comments, I would think about maybe lowering your contrarian view, right? Maybe finding something else to talk about because you don't want to be controversial online, but you have to say something that some people might not agree with to actually grow on social media. Which brings us to brutal truth number 12. You don't understand quality until you do quantity. A lot of people hide behind the veil of quality, right? And say, I just want to make quality videos and then post once every 6 months. And my mentor, Caleb Ralston, likes to say, you don't know what quality looks like until you do quantity. If you want to increase your quality on social media, the fastest way to do that is actually to pick up this camera, record something and post it, because volume will teach you more about social media than anything else. Which brings us to brutal truth number 13. Your content isn't too long, it's too slow. I've seen YouTube videos that are 20, 25, 40 minutes long that actually perform very well. A lot of times people could make a 15-minute video feel too slow. And a really powerful principle that I like to use in all my videos is this concept called asymmetric pacing, which means let's say point number 1 is about a minute. Point number 2 should be around a minute 30, maybe 2 minutes. Point number 3 should be 2 to 3 minutes. Point number 4 4 should be 3 to 4 minutes. Point number 5 should be, maybe 4 to 5 minutes. But what you're creating is this illusion of progress. You want your videos to feel like people are getting momentum. They're going into the video with momentum. And if you can be 3 minutes in and already at point number 4, that is golden for your retention. Which brings us to brutal truth number 14. Batching content just batches your mistakes. And the biggest mistake I see most new creators make is to batch their content more than a week ahead. Ideally, you're learning at every single shoot. And if you can't implement those learnings fast enough, you're just going to fall behind next to the person who's iterating on their past mistakes. And ideally, I like to shoot every single week. If not, I'll shoot every 2 weeks because you're always learning new things. Which brings us to brutal truth number 15. The best creators aren't more creative. They just kill bad ideas faster. Ideation is a volume game. You want to have as many ideas as possible and then kill as many as possible on the back end. And I see a lot of people find one outlier, one video that they think they should remake, or one, topic that they think they should talk about, and not 20 topics, 25 topics, 30 topics, and then kill 25. Because that is the key on social media, is to have an abundance of ideas, an abundance of topics, an abundance of ideation. So that way you're able to kill the bad ideas and then just be left with the cream at the top. And that's how I like to run my ideation sessions, is everybody brings ideally anywhere between 4 to 5 ideas. And that means you have, anywhere between 15 to 20 ideas to actually go through if you have a media team. Or if you're a solo creator, just do this yourself. Sit down and find 20 ideas and then sit down on another session and try to kill as many as possible. Which brings us to brutal truth number 16. Good content isn't saying new things to old people, it's saying old things to new people. And the problem with that is that the definition of branding is just repeated associations. And if you don't repeatedly associate yourself to a few topics over time, then you're just going to be known for everything, not something. And my goal on social media is to be known for content creation, marketing, and branding, and that's it. And so I'm going to repeat the same ideas in different ways, obviously with new analogies, new stories, new examples, but the same core ideas that people can resonate with, so that I repeatedly associate myself with the same topics over time. And if you think about the biggest personal brands in the space, the Gary V's, the Dan Martells, the Mel Robbins, they repeat the same 5 to 7 topics, and they're repeatedly associated with those topics, because a lot of times people don't need to be taught new things. They just need to be reminded of old things. And if you understand that, you will grow faster than 99% of creators, because you're just repeating the shit that actually works. So a simple tactical way to do this for yourself is just to repost your best videos 60 to 90 days later. Key idea here is you want to constantly associate yourself with the same topics over time, so that people associate you with those topics. And as a reminder, if you want my custom GPT that helps you actually generate non-obvious topics, just find me on Instagram and message me the word topic, and watch this video next if you want to learn how to grow so fast on social media it kind of feels like cheating.